Hello and welcome. And we're back with episode 22 of the Money Talks. And I'm so glad because today we've got our third female co founder on the show. And we've got the one and only a female who's actually putting other females on the map. We've got the one and only Ragini Das. Hi, Ragini. Welcome to the Money Talks.
Hi, Aries. Thank you so much. Very, very glad we're finally doing this. I know it's long overdue. And I like that you call me a female co-founder. Nice. We just spoke about this, but yeah, very, very good to be here.
Yeah, as you know, I don't like that tag female co-founder.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much a but since I'm also somebody who believes in numbers, we thought, well, you're number three. Might as well point that out. But I don't think I'll be calling you female co-founder after this. So, uh,
yes.
so Ragini, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do at Leap Club? I know we're going to talk a little more deeply about Leap at the end, but what do you do at Leap, and what does Leap do?
So Leap is now almost a year-old startup. We launched in May this year. We're a paid private network of rising women leaders. We have a very simple mission. It's more women in leadership positions. And what I primarily do is I run operations for it, right? Right from onboarding members, right from engagement, right from, of course, there's hiring, there's fundraising. There are 10 things that you have to do as a founder, which I only found out this year. But that's what I do at Leap.
Good, and we're going to into it a little more deeply. But before that, I really want to talk about you, your life story, and what actually got you to this point where you're leading such an important mission, right? And I think an important mission not just for all the females, but also for the men
Yeah.
that want to support females in higher up roles and to break that glass ceiling. And I think maybe some part of it also comes from your upbringing because if I can call you, you are an army brat. Uh,
Yes.
your father retired as a colonel in 2011 from the Indian Army, and but would you consider yourself? Do you identify yourself as an army brat? Like, is
So,
there
so
what's the qualification?
yeah, so I will go with Army Kid versus Brat. Of course, it's assumed that there's a cult and all of that. But I think growing up as an Army kid, to be very honest, and that's in fact one of my favorite pictures. This is Srinagar,
Oh
back in
wow,
1992. And I think growing up as an Army kid, to be honest, AD, it just gives you a strong sense of community, right? And I think we have no real homes. You get used to kind of being on the move all the time. You get used to changing your schools and seeing new faces every 2 years. And I think your neighbors and your fellow regiment officers and their families, they end up becoming your family, so to speak, right? And of course, this also means that we don't have friends we've known all our lives. Like how you said, I'm a sober boy, right? Like so I'm sure you have friends who you've known all your life. We don't have that, right? We also don't have the luxury of staying close to our cousins or our grandparents and all of that. But I just feel that the relationships that you build, they really grow you so much, right? And not just culturally, even as an individual. And I think people keep talking about the perks, and which is where the term army brat comes from, right? So, of course, there's constant travel. Of course, we have Olympic sized pools. And of course, there's horse riding and golf, and no one else is playing golf your age, right? But I've also seen the Kargil war up close. I've had bunkers behind my house around that time. I have stayed away from, in my case, my father who was in the army, right? Every time he had a field posting. So yeah, it comes with its pros and cons. It teaches you a lot, right? It teaches you adaptability. It teaches you independence. It teaches
it's
you
a beautiful
punctuality.
picture.
Yeah, that is. I think that's from Instagram. I'm not too sure. Very nice. I like how you picked up these pictures from. I have no idea where, but that is my dad. He does not have
I,
a gun.
I, I have a special batch of Oompa Loompas out there looking for photographs.
No, but I think my favorite part about being an army kid uh, is that I think it teaches you that everyone first and foremost is Indian, right?
Yeah,
Where you come from, your religion, all of that, it just comes later. And to be honest, it doesn't come up at all, right? And that's something I'm very, very proud of. And yeah, I think as we always say, if it's a cult, it's a cult. You can tell army kid from a distance.
Absolutely, and I think there's also a sense of strong discipline, right? I mean, our entire interaction over the last 3 or 4 days, you've always been before time, or I think a minute before me, and I pride myself on for most of the time being before time, but you've also been on point, right? You know exactly where you're at, what you're doing. You've worked out the timings very well. Does that come from obviously in the army it's all about discipline, but do you also imbibe some of that from your upbringing and from your father?
100% from both my parents, in fact, right? And I think you can joke about how parents want you to reach the airport 2 hours earlier, but I will forever be grateful to that, right? And I think all the everyone talks about how I calendarize everything. If I have to order a pizza, that's on my calendar, right? But I feel, yeah, that there is a sense of that, which I'm sure comes from my parents. And like I said earlier, it does not mean that we wake up at 5. Okay, I may wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. and we don't go for a run, and none of that happens. We don't have guns at home, which is another big misconception people have about army kids. But yeah, I think everything when it comes to discipline, I would give 90% to my parents. Yes.
And I'm so glad you actually brought that out, that upbringing becomes so important. And I think something very interesting you said, that changing friends every few years, right? Does that also mean that bring out maybe are you more socialist, more socialist because of, not socialist, that's the wrong word, but uh, outgoing because of that, right? Or does that make you more shy? Like which one of those two did you end up
So
being?
if you know me, I'm not shy.
Yeah, very
I
true.
feel kids usually have their way with people. We are forced to, regardless of how shy you are, right? And I had 2 years, ninth and 10th, when I was in Jalandhar, and I would not socialize so much. But I think you just grow up and you end up finding your type of people in every school or every cant or every city you go to, and then you find your tribe, and you figure it out, right? It does make me more open to people, if that's what you're asking, right? It's easy for me to kind of just strike a conversation with you. Like I asked you if you're from Bombay, and then I told you about how about my nannies in Bombay, right? And I love going
Very
to
true.
Bombay. I love O Pedro, and that's an easy conversation for me to have. So, and I think it's a great conversation starter too. So,
Yeah, I think it comes very handy because of the kind of diverse background you have to build rapport with anybody, right?
yeah,
And that is so key. I think whether you want to be an executive or you want to be even a founder, finding rapport with different levels of people, right? Everybody from somebody who might even be cleaning your toilet all the way to
yeah,
talking to a CEO. I mean, that's the wide range of people you're talking to on a daily basis. Can you find common ground, right? And I
yeah,
think, I mean, I had this for a very long time. I wanted to hire more army people, into our companies, and unfortunately, maybe we've not been hiring them the right way, but we haven't been able to recruit one. But it's always been my thing, because I believe such a high sense of resilience
yeah.
that that army puts into you, right? Because then all that little stuff doesn't really bother you anymore, right? You're really focusing on the big pictures. And
Absolutely.
I have a few friends who've gone on to become fantastic founders and executives who were in the army, right? I didn't know them before they were in the army, but I got to know them after, and there is a difference. So I'm first of all, just whenever you talk to your father, do let us know. And I know some of our viewers are already telling you that thank him for his service to the nation. We are forever indebted to him, and thank you for creating a Ragini for us, right? Which I believe you've got your Twitter handle as Raging Das instead
Doing
of
that,
Rag.
yes, that's a 23-year-old Ragini. But if you are on Twitter, my dad is my biggest cheerleader. Also, he follows Zumato, he follows Leap, he follows my co-founder, he follows Dipinder Goyal, and he follows me. And he's on Twitter only to retweet Leap's posts. That's all he does. When I was at Zomato, he would repost Zomato stuff, and now he does it for Leap. So yeah, so I think God bless such fathers, and God bless men who bring up daughters like us.
Fantastic. God bless him. Like I said, thank you so much for his service to the nation. But then you went on. I think you went on to Lancaster. You did your your MBA from was it a B? It's an MBA from Lancaster, right?
It's a
A
BBA.
BB.
Yeah.
Okay. And but you chose to go to UK, when the UK school instead of the US one, and it's more cool, I guess, to be in the US school. I'm not for or against any one of them. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
did you
yeah.
choose a UK BBA versus a US one? Because
No, I'll tell you
it's a
what
lot.
happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, let me give you some backstory, right? So broadly, I am a Malayali. I was, of course, born in Delhi, but I was brought up all over, right, from Srinagar to Chennai. So I've moved around pretty much. I've changed 8 schools. I've moved around all my life. And I think for college, specifically, I think I was looking at Christ. There was Simbi, there was MOP Vaishnav in Chennai, that and I'd gotten into electronic media, and I had no idea what it was. But I was like, okay, it doesn't look really bad. I'd done schooling in Chennai. It seemed like a decent option. And then Goenka and Delhi had just started their affiliation with Lancaster in the UK. So you get to learn the same business administration curriculum, and you also get to kind of spend time there. So I took that up. I did my BBA because this particular degree would also give me that one extra year which you need for a US MBA, which at that time, like every other person, was the goal. Right? I'll finish this, I'll go do my master's, I'll go do my MBA from this college in US. And like everyone, I was thinking like that. Um, Obviously did not happen. Right after college, I picked up a role with Trident, which was also not the hotel, by the way, which is a
yeah.
manufacturing company. And I went to Ludhiana because, hey, army kids can work anywhere. So how bad can it be? And that's what I did.
Wow. So I thought you were still working because you finished your internship in Hyderabad. So I thought Trident was you're probably working in some office in Hyderabad. You went to Ludhiana all the way.
Ludhiana, yes.
And I mean, Trident, I wouldn't call it a very old corporate because they're a 1990s founded group. But again, Ludhiana is a very strong textile, foothold in the country. But what did you learn from this experience? Because again, 1990 still would not call it really a
Very
startup.
old school. Very
Yeah,
old school.
very old school. Yeah. What did you take away from that experience? Because you were handling key accounts over there.
Yes. So I basically joined them as a frontline entrepreneur for their sales and marketing team. And while I was, of course, dealing with the Ralph Laurens and the JC Penney's, and it sounds fancy, right? I'm working on SAP. I was earning quite a bit because they used to pay really well. I'm sure they pay well even today. But I don't know why, AD. It just was not my calling, right? I kept at it for a year because I was like, I cannot give up, right? I did not enjoy it at all. But how can I give up? And that's when Zumato happened for me in 2013. When Zumato also started, by the way, it was always going to be a 2-year thing. And then I'll go do my MBA like every
MBA.
other person. Yeah. But no, I fell in love with the company. I stayed there for 6 years. But people keep talking to me about, oh my God, Ludhiana, how do you do it? All of that. But credit where credit due. I think it taught me a lot. It taught me, number one, that you have to truly enjoy what you do on a daily basis, right? You have to want to wake up in the morning and go to work. It taught me that not giving into peer pressure will actually serve you in the longer run, because like everyone else,
Very
I
true.
could have also gone and done my master's. But I think my biggest learning, and Anand, my co-founder, keeps telling me why, but I think my biggest learning is that money is important, but it does not solve for everything, right? I took a 50% pay cut, AD, when I joined Zumato in 2013. Best decision of my life. Like literally the best
Wow.
of my life.
50% pay cut.
Yeah.
And obviously, you joined at that time, which was only a 5 or 6 year old company. You didn't really know. I mean,
I was the only girl in the
you're talking
office.
about just restaurant listing company at that time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and early days of startup. Like, what was the conversation like with your father? Like, your father had retired, and you're like, listen, Dad, I'm gonna quit Trident. And all this awesome money I'm making in Ludhiana, which is also lower cost of living over there, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
move to Delhi. I'm gonna join a startup, 50% pay cut, and it's gonna be awesome.
Moved to Hyderabad actually. So I
Oh, you
started
want
with
to have
Hyderabad. Yeah, we were 8 people in the team. I was the only girl in the sales team back then. It's very funny how that happened, right? So I actually interned with Standard Chartered And someone who I worked with there, his brother used to work for this company, like you said, was a listing company. They used to collect menus. But very surprisingly, they had a great culture. They had bean bags and they had all these things that everyone wanted, right? In a perfect office. And as cliched as it sounds, it had something to do with food. So, of course, it piqued my interest. And I think in my 6 years there, to be honest, I, of course, led various sales and growth roles. I moved multiple geographies even then because that Kida kind of never goes away. I started with Hyderabad. I moved to Bangalore for 3 years. I moved to Delhi end of 2016, and that's when Delhi happened for me. Even in my last 2 years at Zumato, I was basically leading international expansion for Zumato Gold, which is today Zumato Pro. It's one of the largest F&B subscription programs in the world. And we scaled that to 10 countries. So I basically spearheaded the launch in Turkey, Australia, Middle East, New Zealand, all of that. Yeah, this is in fact one of the first, like Gold hadn't even launched. This was literally, I think, July, August, when we were just starting up and it was not even called Gold. Again, the only girl
What?
here.
Yeah, exactly. What's interesting, you're the only girl here.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and that's true for everyone, and we'll definitely talk about that, right? But I think I saw that journey from 0 to 2 million users when I left, right? And I think lots of learnings, right? Lots of learnings, and also the most fun I had. Like last 2 years of Zomato was probably my top because it was a startup within a startup,
Yeah.
and and that is very very important. And I think the
Before
thing
we
that
get into pro, well, I want to talk to you about like there's obviously a big difference moving from a conglomerate kind of and obviously a founder-led company like Trident to moving to more of a startup-oriented, multiple founders, multiple heads of department, heading stuff yourself for Zomato. What would you say was the biggest difference working for an Indian conglomerate versus working for an Indian startup?
So I think startups or Zomato in general, and I'll just speak for that, it just teaches you everything you need to know in life, right? And not to say I didn't work as hard. I think I am someone who likes to give my 100% regardless of where I work, right? Today, if I work at Leap or I work at Zomato, I work at Trident, I want to give the same thing. So keeping that aside, I think the sense of ownership, the sense of decisiveness, and I think for me, why Zomato stood out and why that, why I stuck around for 6 years. Stunning colleagues, like absolutely A1 colleagues. Zomato taught me that while it's important to be a family, it's very important to be a very solid sales team. And it's very important to be a very solid sports team also, right? Which means that no one can drop the ball ever. And I
Wow.
think we speak about culture quite a lot, right? And even at Leap we do. And half our team is ex Zomato, but I think Zomato really really shows you that, and I think all startups do, right? So yeah, I think that was
I
my
want you to elaborate a little bit about having a sports culture, right? And it's not obviously it's about having a sports team kind of a culture that no one can drop the ball. What does
yeah.
that mean? How does that translate into a business atmosphere?
So for me, that completely translates to ownership, right? Not to say that it's not okay to make mistakes because your team can't feel that,
Yeah.
but also making the same mistakes again and again is not okay. So knowing that and working on that, right? And yeah, I think I'm reading uh, this book called No Rules Rules. I'm sure you've heard about it. Everyone's reading it right now. Reed Hastings, and I think they talk about culture quite a lot, which is very very Netflix is very very different from a Zomato or a Leap or any other company that there is. But I think if there is a sort of culture I truly look up to or aspire or want in a startup that I'm running or I'm a part of or whatever it is, right? It will be that, and I think that is very very important.
And I'm sure I've already heard and I've already interacted with your team a little bit, and I can see that culture. It's not just about the two founders; it also percolates all the way down. How do you protect that kind of a culture? Like,
So we keep talking about this one thing, right? And I'm very proud of the fact that I think everyone who works at Leap thinks like a founder, right?
hmm,
And thinking like a founder also means that they work equally hard, if not more. They know that they can take decisions. They know that we'll back them up. And more importantly, they know what are the right decisions to take, right? Have we got hiring 100% on point? No. Do I struggle with it every day? Yes. Do I have gray hair because of it? Yes. But we're getting there. We're getting there one day at a time, hopefully.
I think it's one of the most important parts, and I read this in a book called the 3G Way, is that to make sure your team has the ownership mindset, right? That everyone thinks, like you just said, that they are like a founder, they are like the owners of the business, right? And think of the business and make decisions as if you were running your own business. And
Yeah,
imagine if instead of two owners of the business, if you had 100 owners of the business, you'd be working at the speed of light, right? And things
absolutely.
would be getting executed exactly precisely. So such an important thing you brought up, and I'm so glad we get to talk about that, and we'll elaborate on that a little bit more. But let's talk about how did this Zomato Gold idea come up? I know you and Anand both were part of this initiative, but how did the idea come up in a company like Zomato? Because by the time this came alive, I think you guys were in the hundreds of employees,
Yeah.
and no longer a startup. It was no longer a small email chat group, and a decision is made and something is launched. This is now a solid company, and you launched something so massive it broke the internet for a couple of days, from what I remember. Right? I remember like people scrambling to get an invite code to get a Zomato Gold membership. So this was, and I remember my father talking about it. My father never talks about tech, so for him to say, because in our hotel, people were showing up saying, "Hey, I have a Zomato Gold membership, and where's the discount?" And he was like, "What the heck is Zomato Gold, right?" And so
Someone from
so
Zumato came, sold us something, went.
exactly, right. But in a company like that, both of you guys in basically running a startup within a startup, what was the thought process? How did you guys execute that? And how did you guys sell the management and the investors on it? It'd be great for all of us to learn from.
Yeah. So Zomato Gold actually started off as an idea back in 2016. The first time it started and the first time Zomato did this was actually not even in India. India, which is of course the HQ, and it's the first place where Zomato tests all their products. That's not where we first did it. We actually did it in Portugal, and we actually
Okay.
did this in the UAE. So it started with those two countries. It was okay, right? Like there was 1+1 on food, and there was 2+2 on drinks, and that's how it was working. And it was okay, like literally just about okay. And the plan to launch India was actually early 2017. That was the initial plan. So the photo that you actually showed where I'm standing like this was this is around, I think, March, April, when we were still kind of working on the product benefits and all of that. And Anand, this was Anand's second stint. So he joined us early 2018 when we were at
Okay.
about 1,000 members. And so yeah, I think 2017, we actually started going to restaurant owners in India. And we started,
Oh
of course,
wow.
on them. About, I think, 400 in Delhi, 400 in Bangalore, 400 in Bombay, and the three major cities is how we're going to start with. And we started getting a lot of feedback, right? We started getting a lot of feedback on, yeah, this is okay. It helps us fill tables, but how much will come? What is the discount percentage? And the numerous questions I'm sure you already know, right?
Yeah.
But I think I remember Zoravar Kalra. He told Pankaj Chadda, who was back then still at Zumato, and of course he's the co-founder at Zumato, he told him something very interesting. He said, I think PC, you're trying to build a loyalty program, but we had some certain conditions. We said you can only go to a restaurant once, or you can only go to X partner, or you can only use it so many times. He said you can't build loyalty when you give restrictions,
Yeah.
right? And that made a lot of sense, right? And if this literally meant that we have to go back to 1,000 restaurants, retrain them, speak to the owners again, get them okay and on the same page, and get the contract signed and do all of that. And even if this means you have to push the launch, you have to push the launch, right? And that's what we did.
Wow.
Now, okay, this has become, I think, around October, November. And we're like, okay, let's launch in 10 days. And we just started this waitlist model. We said, join the waitlist, something cool is coming, we'll let you know. That's it. Like no science, no this thing, literally, like you said, chat room conversation. That's
Yep.
how most decisions at Zomato, I think, till today are taken. And that's what I love about it, right? and that's how it started. And then this was 14th of November. In fact, wow, literally 5 days back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think we started and we got in 24 hours 10,000 members, and the P is
Yep.
like, "Band karo, shut it." And I was like, "What are you saying? Like, we have literally, like you said, broken the internet." And we said, "Okay, let's shut it." And I think we tweeted saying we're closing memberships, and that's how Zomato Gold happened, and that's how the waitlist came in, and that's how this entire FOMO concept at least landed in my head. And I saw it work, right? And this was not an India thing. We went back and we changed a little bit. We tweaked the product, by the way, because this worked so well. We went back to UAE, we went back to Portugal, we tweaked it. Southeast Asia happened, Turkey happened, Australia happened, and these two things worked really well everywhere. And yeah, that's how that's the gold mine we kind of got. And just kind of answering, I think, Ashwin's question, he said, have you seen any common things that went right, wrong through the experience of launching all these products? I think one thing that we did right was that I think usually most companies, especially Indian companies, right? Like when we launch abroad, we say that let us do this, we know the market. But let's be honest, Indians don't know Jakarta. They don't know Manila. They don't know what works in Melbourne, right? So actually, what we did right was we got agencies. I mean, we got
Right.
Mullen Lowe, we got JWT, we got all these, like literally like we had 10 agencies pitched to us. I went there myself. You have to know the culture. You have to let people tell you what works. You can't go blindly with, I know this works in India, so this will work. So that
Yep.
balance is super, super important. And yeah, we let those agencies do it for us, and that's what really worked.
In fact,
Pricing,
even in India, I don't think you can just take the same approach all across the 32 states,
yeah,
right? It's impossible because it's completely different cultures from east to west, north to south. So you're absolutely right. Just like you can't export a product from here to Jakarta, you can't export a product from here to Calcutta with the
yeah,
same messaging and expect them to understand, right? It's a
absolutely. And
completely
you have
different culture.
to be there. You have to use Tamil in Chennai. You have to
Yeah.
use all these things, right? So I think localization was super, super important. And even even English speaking countries, to be honest, right? It's
Yep.
what works in Melbourne will not work in India.
Yep. Very true.
We had Zomato Gold with like the logo with a burger dripping behind all the grabs in Jakarta, because that's what works. They're always stuck in traffic, right?
Yep.
You have to do the same thing in Uber in India. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. We don't know, right? So I think that was super, super important.
We'll take that question, but before we do that, I do notice, and I was mentioning this earlier as well, that a lot of the marketing or growth hacks, you are inspired from your time at Zomato, and I was reading a blog during the research for this episode that Zomato had 200,000 paid subscribers in under a year, I think, at Zomato Gold, and that was at that time the largest or the fastest growing subscriber program in India, which is
Yeah,
a pretty impressive and massive thing to say. Did you guys, when you started this, expect it to be that big in India?
not at all.
And
So
and and, and
not at all.
when did Dipinder go from no, we got to stop this thing to saying, okay, we got to back this thing even more?
Day two. So,
But
so
what
we
what
opened registrations and we opened memberships full time. I think a month post this on and off thing, and great decision, right? And I think, like I said, lots of product tweaks were also made. So I think what I've also learned from Zomato is obsess about customer feedback, like really obsess about customer feedback, and then be super, pardon my French, but anal about it also, right?
Yep.
At the same time, listen to your vendors as well. So lots of things that have happened at, I think, Zomato Gold Pro now, like while I was there, during it, after it, before it, all of that, right? But I think something that has always worked in life in general, and I think always will be listening to your customers. So even at Leap, I think every time I'm in that this thing ki, oh my god, is this the right call? And I'm just like, what makes our members win? And just do that. And like if it means like working 10 times harder, if it means having 10 times tougher conversations, we have to do it.
But what's even key, and we've had this, conversation across multiple episodes, is that there's a difference between listening to your customer and agreeing with your customer, right? And I'm guessing you're meaning the former and not the latter.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
and for some of the founders who may not understand the difference, like, what do you mean by you could listen to a customer but still disagree with him? And how, so maybe have you had a situation that you could probably elaborate and educate the audience with?
I can actually. So in fact, something very, very recent. When we started with a bunch of benefits, and I think we're also constantly challenging what can we do better. To give you a small example, when we started, and of course, we're big believers in executive coaching. It's a big part of what we do at Leap, right? When we started, we were 100% in belief of the fact that group coaching is the way to go. It's what works. People will love it. They do, right? They love the coaches. They love the groups. And I think because it's a close-knit community, they love the members. But sometimes it like a Saturday 11 a.m. may work for UAD, it does not work for me. Not to say you and
True.
I are not invested, right? But if that means I have to go and move that completely to one-on-one coaching and I need to onboard 100 coaches on the platform, I'm going to do it in 30 days. The minute my
Hmm.
members tell me that Ragini web is becoming so tough to manage, we went back to office. We built an app for 2 months. And we launched it on the 1st of November, right? Is it 100% there? Are we 100? Have we figured it out? And are we 100% there with our benefits? Absolutely not, right? I think we're also constantly learning. We're constantly thinking of what else to do. I think one great thing is we get customer feedback real time. Uh, all our members are so invested, so they're always telling us what more we can do, what more we need to do, and that's what we do. And I think you spoke about listening and kind of literally doing what they're saying. I think you have to pick your battles. So not to
Very
say
true.
say 10 things and 10 things will happen, but whatever makes business sense, whatever makes members win, whatever is doable has to happen, right? If it means you have to, like I said, work harder, you have to work harder, and then that's something you've signed up for.
Now, I've always believed in this quote from Henry Ford, right? If we just listened to our customers, they would have asked for a faster horse, and there would have never been a better car, right? So you have to balance. I mean, if you're a founder, you sometimes have to balance between what the customer is saying and the vision that you're going after. Sometimes you have to disappoint some to
Yeah.
a small part to really build something very, very unique. Otherwise, look at the BlackBerry where it was and look at where iPhone is today, right? I don't think
Absolutely.
anybody gave iPhone a chance 12 years ago, and look at where it is today, right? It's $1 trillion company. So good.
Something very interesting, AD. You spoke about, I think how not everyone will be happy. And I just want to take a minute and talk about that, right?
Please go ahead.
Um, I'm a first time founder. I want to make everyone happy, right? So I'm that. I have spoken to every single person who's come and leave. That we've created that rapport. It's an open community. Everyone's writing feedback every day. It's what makes me happy. So when we challenge stuff, when we change stuff, of course, we have members who like it the way it was. And Anand used to keep talking about you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at if 90% are happy, and if it means 10% will be unhappy, we'll figure how to make the unhappy happy. But you can't beat yourself about it. And that's what I
Yeah.
started doing in
True.
the middle, right? Like I was like, oh my God, how can this one person not like this? Because you just get so married to your initial thoughts that you don't end up challenging them often enough. And that's very important to do.
No, it's always important to remember. I mean, and just digressing from our overall conversation, but there's something known as the law of diffusion of innovation, and it splits the market into four different segments. You've got the innovators, which are 2.5%. Then you've got 13.5%, which are the early adopters. Now, these are the guys that stand in line the first day an iPhone comes out, right? This is the guy that every single person, for that matter, every time something new comes out, they need to have it because that for them that is a high. And then
Yeah.
after that, you have a major chunk of the market, which is 32%, 34%, which will be what they call the early majority, which is, and then the late majority, which is another 34%, and then you've got 16%, which are the laggards. Now, don't worry about the laggards. If those guys were still, if they could use a dial-up phone, they would still be using a dial-up phone and dial-up internet, right? So since that's not possible, they have to move. But many times, and I find this with, many times with early entrepreneurs, they try to pitch to that majority. But honestly, those are if you try to pitch to them, you lose all the early adopters who really are the influencers. See,
Yeah.
iPhone cannot be afforded by everyone. And that's the key of why iPhone is iPhone and where Samsung is, because Samsung pitches to everybody. And iPhone only pitches to those first guys, and then they convince people like us and to sell kidneys or whatever the heck we do to buy iPhones, right? So it's very, very important. Yeah, as an entrepreneur, try not pitching to the majority. Try pitching to the early guys. They will get you the majority. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we talk about membership fees. So now let's talk about what inspires you. You've built a fantastic startup inside a startup. That startup itself is now a unicorn. You've been there 6 years, so obviously you've got some bit of vested equity in there, and you're doing well for yourself again, right? After Trident, and then you go and tell your father, you know what, I'm going to quit everything, and I'm going to go start this little experiment, which I'm going to call Leap Club, and become a founder. And what was the motivation that led to that decision?
So it wasn't even called Leap Club. If I tell you the name, I am very embarrassed. It was what our legal entity today is. It was Conflict, yeah, which means nothing either way. But we actually started off with something that Anand and I, and of course he was my boss at Zumato. He used to lead goal for us globally, and in fact, like I worked with him for the last 2 years there that I spent building Zumato Gold. But we used to keep talking about, AD, how while of course there are multiple platforms that help with professional networking, jobs, I think job reviews, all of that, right? There is just literally nothing that helps you get from point A in your career to point B. A being, of course, where you're at right now, and B is where you want to be, right? And for most people, that first phase comes in the first 5 to 10 years of their careers, right? Where they want to move to the next level, don't know how to. I think I was there as well, right? So I think we've all been there. The days where your bosses and your office and your work is going to kind of help you get to that next level, that's gone. And I think that's a truth everyone knows. And since you're a founder, you will know that even as an entrepreneur, it's a very, very lonely journey. Like they have nobody.
Very true.
Yeah.
On some days more than others,
Yeah,
or rather
yeah.
most days more than others. Yeah.
On most days. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel that burnout, right? Like last 1 year versus when I spoke about having that family, having that sports team. It's this, yeah. But we ended up actually speaking to almost 500 people for just basic research, see if there's any need to the problem, right? So we asked them what they do for their professional growth. We asked them, okay, what is it that you need? Now, on the need part, a bunch of things stood out for us, right? Executive coaching, which if you asked me 2 years back, I hadn't even heard of. I thought Deep Kalra is great because he just is that great and he goes to the stage and he talks the way he does. I had no idea that people have coaches, right? They spoke about executive coaching. They spoke about being mentally happy. They spoke about access to a strong network that can actually help you in your professional growth. They spoke about, of course, access to industry icons, which most people don't have access to, right? And lots of skilling tools, like how do I go to the next level and what is that shortcut, so to speak. And basis that is how we started imagining all of our benefits, right? And like I always say, call it a Zomato Gold hangover or whatever. The first thing we imagined was, okay, let's build a membership, right? So of course, it's a paid membership. We combine network, support, learning, coaching, and that's how all the benefits in some sense have shaped up. Now, another very important thing that stood out, right? Because this is just like one other idea that many people can have. But what really stood out in this particular research, AD, was that when we spoke to women, right, they spoke about this with a lot more passion. I think for us, the journey is 10 times harder for various reasons, which I don't even want to kind of get into. But right, in India has, I think, more than 1.3 million women, and these are, of course, income tax numbers, who earn more than 10 lakhs a year. They pay their taxes. They're on their way to leadership positions. We just want to help them get there. And I think more importantly, help them stay there, right? Because that is something no one does anything about. And I think when we decided to build this for women, when we decided that, okay, let's be clear about what we are and what we're not, right? And I hate that I have to call this out all the time, but we're not a Nari Morcha, right? We're not,
Yeah.
it's not social charity. I don't think empowering women is social charity. So yes, of course, I call this a movement, I call it a mission, but when people look at it as a not-for-profit, I hate it. We're a paid membership. I think we have enough solid women in India, globally, willing to pay us for their professional growth, and that's what we're building, right? So yeah, today we're at 500 members. This is across primarily Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, but today also members in Jakarta, London, Singapore,
Oh, wow.
Malaysia, Dubai. It's online. It's an online world, right? So it's global now, and we have another 200 members joining us on the 1st of December. So yeah, 7,000 women on that wait list waiting to join the movement. So I think there is enough to do. There is enough market size, as any VC would call it. And yeah, I think we're just getting started. And like I said, in the last 6 months of running it, we figured what works, we figured what doesn't work, we figured what needs to tweak. But yeah, I think if there is any goal, it is one, which is members have to win, right? And that's something that we have to constantly be at it for.
So true. And I think without obviously getting into the male versus female conversation, I just think, and someone who has a number, I think 40% of our current staff strength is female, and it was I think 60% at one point. So it's we've hired some people that probably brought it down, but I've realized that it's all. I don't think women are out there looking to be recognized. They don't identify with the feminist movement, but they do identify with the equality movement, right? We need equal pay, we need equal responsibility. Look at us the same way. I think the feminist movement is a whole different story. Let's not get into that. But
No,
what you're doing,
correct you there. I want to correct you there, AD. So I think this misconception of what feminism means is something I want to talk about, right? Feminism is nothing but equality. It literally means that women should have whatever men have.
absolutely.
But unfortunately, we live in a society, country where everything feminist is Nari Morcha. I'm a male hater. I'm a man hater. I'm a this. I'm a that. And I've had so many of these conversations. They're like, oh, she's become a proper feminist. Arey, what does that mean? I just mean men and women have equal rights, and that's what we fight for.
That's exactly. I mean, I honestly, and this like we could take an entire episode to talk about this. I think there is a sect of feminism that has just gone rogue and has
Yeah.
started to say, the better way to show equality is to show that we're one up on the other person. But then that's exactly what the male chauvinist does, right? So you can't have those. We're talking about let's be equals, and we are equals, right? In every sense of the word. Two eyes, two legs, two hands, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, I maybe is because of that extremism that's come out in the feminist movement. That's I don't identify myself as a feminist, if you would, but I do identify myself as someone who wants equality, wants equal opportunities for everyone.
No,
But I think
think
I can let.
I think you're a feminist, right? Because I think AD, every time Leap has posted something on Twitter, every time we've done something, you have gone ahead and shown your support, right? Like I think regardless of investment, no investment, whatever, right? And I just feel and I keep talking about our cap table also. I mean, we have 5 women, but we have so many men. We have so
Very
many,
true. I
like
mean,
we
you're a
have,
male co-founder who cannot even sign up as a member on your own app, which is
yeah.
which is I think a very interesting conversation to have.
My login, secret information, but yeah, and that's the biggest statement, right? My co-founder is the biggest feminist I know ever. Like there are times where he is like, no, this can't happen, or you can't say this or this, right? Because there are enough men like that, right? And in fact, just speaking about that cap table, right? Of course, even when I met Sandeep Tandon and I told him about Leap, no one's come on board ki, oh my god, charity hai, or mission
Exactly.
oriented hai to ye kar lete hain. None of that, right? Like they believe in it. They believe in, of course, the founders, the mission, all of that, and then, of course we believe in them, right? We've also gone out to people who've built businesses, and that's what we wanted to go after. There was no male, female. Oh my God, only female will be there. I'm very proud. I have 5 women on my cap table, but if it's, I will go after what will help me grow, right? And that is what equality in my head at least is.
There you go. And I think, I bow my hat to that, because that exactly to me is what equality is all about.
Yeah.
But now, since we've danced around the entire topic, let's come to the topic, which is, what is Leap Club, right? We've talked everything about without answering that simple, maybe elevator pitch that you would give out.
So I think leap.club is a mystery. No, I'm kidding. So I think we have a bunch of benefits, right? It's a paid membership. Like I said, our members pay a subscription amount every month to be a part of the network, and you get access to a bunch of benefits. Now, beyond the network and the ability to super connect, as we call it, you get access to the best coaches and trainers, not just in India, even abroad. So you get one-on-one coaching from them at exclusive member rates. We do masterclasses and huddles with industry icons where you literally sit with them in the same room, of course, Zoom room. We do this in between members, so you're constantly learning from other members also. We have academy where we constantly keep adding relevant stuff to read, relevant stuff to listen to. In fact, we want to completely double down on learning content, because I think that's what has come out as a big winner, to be honest, AD also. And yeah, today, in fact, like I was telling you earlier, we're adding 3 more benefits in the next 2 months. And I think while primarily there's perks, there's yellow pages, we're building a marketplace. So there are a bunch of things coming, right? And I think the next 12 months for us are super exciting. I have this joke that every time my co-founder goes for a vacation, which he has now, he comes back with 5 new benefits, which I just need to do. But yeah, I think
If,
ensuring
if
that.
if Sandesha is anywhere listening to this podcast, she's gonna identify with what you're exactly saying right now. Because whenever I go on vacation, I come back with 5 new ideas for Artha, which then she has to go and execute, because she's the CEO. So yeah, completely. I don't know. Maybe Anand and I need to go out on a vacation together, maybe
You
to change
should.
the world.
So he's back on Sunday, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to meet him already on Sunday, and we have to already start working on what we're doing in Feb. But I think that's what keeps us on our toes, right? I think primarily anything that helps our members grow professionally is what we're going to do. We also hear a lot of, oh my God, you guys are trying to do too many things, right? Lots of people say that to us. But to be very honest, ADVR, right? We're trying to do too many things because we want to see what works best. And if it means I have to do 10 things, I have to do 10 things. But if it
True.
makes people win, that's what we're going after. I think there's enough number of people going after Bharat. There's enough number of people going after billion-dollar valuations. I'm going after creating a valuable product. Every single person has to say, I love Leap. This works for me. It's helped me move in my career. And when you hear those stories, like every day I'll get a message from some member saying, oh, I got this job, or I got connected to so and so person, or this therapist really helped me, or this coach really helped me. It makes my day. It absolutely makes my day. And if it means that I have to wake up at 6 a.m., make notes, do all of that, it's worth it. It's worth every single thing.
So what's the biggest problem you're solving with Leap? The one single problem they're trying to solve.
With Leap overall, I think one big problem is that women don't have access to most things, right? When I say access to most things, it includes upskilling tools. It includes a very strong network. It includes, of course, like access to industry icons, multiple things, but just not having enough people to go to. And not in a very
Hmm.
mentor-mentee setup. We're not a mentor-mentee setup platform today, right? I think that concept, in fact, to be honest, for me, is very broken, because it requires a lot of dedication from both parties, etc. But just a strong network of people who help each other in their professional growth is what we're looking at.
What Leap is all about. And
It
I
is.
believe 40% of your membership today, and again, it's all female, obviously.
Yeah.
40% are founders, right? And when I remember when you guys started, I think one of the conversations I had with Anand, I'm not sure if you were on the call at that time, but he discussed that they didn't want to go after females initially, but now I'm seeing 40% females. So what led to that change, right? And how is that enriching the overall network? Because you've got executives on one side, and you've got founders on one side. I'm guessing not all the founders are Series B and beyond, right? I'm guessing some of them are pretty
Yeah,
early as well.
just
So
starting.
how,
Yeah.
but on the other side, you've got executives that are probably, HR heads of Gucci and things like that. So how does all that? Well, Neha, right? But how does all of that get? I mean, what led to the change in decision, and how does all of that work better for all the members, right? How does it enrich everyone's life?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that, and I think Ashwin had also asked, how do you identify your early adopters, right? So let me just,
Yeah,
in fact, take both. You're right. When we started, our common this thing was, okay, we understand this life of a Uber or a Dunzo or a Zomato or a Google or a Bain or whatever, right? Like it's the life
yeah,
we've seen. When I say we, I'm just talking about Anand and I. Our very, very limited knowledge tells us that this is who it will 100% work for. But when we started speaking to people, AD, when women started joining the waitlist, we started seeing a trend. We saw a lot of founders sign up for this, right? A
yeah.
lot of people join the waitlist. And I don't know if you know this, but I used to meet every single person in person because this is pre-COVID days. Uh, I would meet them at Cafe Tonino in Gurgaon, in One Horizon Center, meet them for tea, coffee, try to understand what is really needed. And at that time, we were just starting up. So if it meant I have to tweak my benefits, I have to tweak my benefits, right? Because we were at that stage. And then I think, again, just the passion with which women founders spoke about this and how badly they needed that network, how badly they needed a coach, how badly they needed just a support system. And
Yep.
today I understand it a lot better because you don't have anyone covering your slack, you don't have anyone covering for you at work. There is not a single day off. You can try to fool yourself that, oh, I am taking 3 days off, but I will change my name if you can actually take 3 days off and not think about the company that you built, right? So I think when that happened, I started speaking to a lot more founders, and just let it happen, right? Figure it out. I'll speak to 10 people. If 4 of them are founders and they resonate, then they resonate. Build it for them, right? And primarily everyone wants the same thing. It's not like
Yep.
founders want something different, or people in a Gucci or a Google or a Bain or so and so want something different. I have someone who comes with 2 years of experience. She's doing public policy. I have Sonali who heads, recruitment at Bain. I also have someone who leads mergers and acquisitions at Genpact, and she comes with 27 years of experience. Everyone wants to
Wow.
get to the next level. Everyone wants to be coached. Their journeys are different, but their goals are the same, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So even when we started, we thought 10 years of experience, this is what our ideal TG. Don't answer, let I think members answer it, right? And I think we speak to at least 300 women every single month when we try to onboard them,
Wow.
literally calls. So we get this so real time that it's easy to understand what's working, and it's also very important and easy to know what is not and what can be tweaked.
Very interesting. And you raised roughly about 2.5 crores in your first round. We got a list of marquee investors in there. You've got Whiteboard, First Check, Artha India Ventures, Amrish Rao, Deepak Abbott, Harpreet Singh, Grover, and you've got obviously the Snapdeal founders as well, right, on board. And but I believe most of this money was picked up pre-product, right?
Yeah.
This is before you even had a product. How were you able to convince all of these guys? I mean, I won't talk about myself because I know what convinced me, but let's talk about the other people because most of these guys are not, they're not product stage investors. They
Yeah.
usually are people that will come what I would call maybe pre-series A. There's a product, there is revenues, and here you were out there convincing two first-time founders out there convincing everyone, listen, we're going to build this amazing product, you're going to love it, and nobody else is actually building it. In fact, there's no direct comparison.
Yeah.
It's in it's a Uber version of LinkedIn is what most of us would have probably called it. And how did you
Yeah.
do that? What was that like?
So Anand's a second-time founder. So he had already started something called Press Play back in 2012, 2013 when he quit Zomato the first time. A big part of what helped, in fact, for me, 90% of the reason why I was also okay leaving my job at Zomato and doing this was because I was doing it with someone who's done it before, right?
Hmm.
So that was one big plus. You're right. I think we really, really lucked out with the best, I think, angels, so to speak. And I'd love to know what convinced you. But I think we were also, I mean, and of course, they took a bet on the founders, they took a bet on the mission. But I think they really, really believed in the product, right? And I think what we had, and we'd done our little bit of research, we'd started speaking to, I think, a bunch of members. There was already initial traction. So they understood that. They knew that it's a gold mine, right? Like, and you're right, there's nobody doing exactly what we're doing, at least in India, right? And I think for us, what really worked was we were going after we were going after angels who had been founders. Because we weren't going after money. We weren't like, oh, this person will give X, this person will go give Y, and Y is greater than X, go to Y, right? We did none of that. I think we took money which was literally needed to help us next couple of months. We didn't spend it for the longest time. Anand and I keep talking about how frugal we are with money, and it's true, right? But yeah, I think I'd love to know from you what worked for you. But I think primarily for everyone, it was the fact that it's a big enough business, right? And I think most VCs will say, "Oh my God, only women? Is it a big enough market?" I think it's a very very solid and very very big enough market, and we're here to stay.
It doesn't have to be a massive market if you're the only one or two players in there, right? Even $2 billion market with two players creates $1 billion space. But I'll tell you,
I'm
I mean,
someone who likes to believe competition comes overnight. I have seen Swiggy not existing to Swiggy today existing for Zomato. So
but
always
you know,
I
I think this is not the same play because it's not pure B2C, right? And I mean, obviously we were donning different hats all of a sudden, but I think it's. So I'll tell you what convinced me. Right? I actually got this deal. So first of all, it came through Amit
yeah
from Vista Room. So that obviously already put it right at the gold list, right? The first things that we would check. And I wanted this to be part of our fund, right? I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I believe in. I believe there should be something like this, a differentiated club. But what I really loved about Anand and the conversations we had was how quickly and easily you guys would say no. It wasn't about the yeses. You told me no, you will not take more money. You told me no, you won't take. I mean, I had to literally push to even put a small enough check because I just wanted to be part of this thing. And even in the future, when I purposely threw Anand a few carrots just to see whether he would bite. I
yeah
threw a carrot about what if it's a celebrity? What if I could bring Deepika Padukone or one of these people on board? He was like, yeah, but you know what? I don't really need them. I don't really want them. I was like, who says no to Deepika Padukone coming on board? And he's like, I'm still going to charge her a membership fee. And I was like, this guy's either nuts completely, right? Or he knows exactly what he's building. So he knows exactly what to say yes to and what to say no to. And I
yeah
think whether this ends up being a unicorn or whether this ends up doing nothing at all, but I think you need to back that kind of clear vision because at the early stage, if we're not doing that, I don't think we should be early stage investors, right?
yeah.
Because it's and I love that. I mean, you asked me the questions, I'm answering it for you, but
No, I love
continue to have the ability to say no, right? Because especially in sales, is the guy who holds all the cards is the guy who can still say no at the negotiating table, right? And so now is Leap Cup free for women?
it's
It's
not
a
free for
whole.
it's never
It's
going
not.
to be free for women or anyone for that matter. I have this thing, or like, I don't know, I mean, people might agree, not agree. But I just feel that when you're building a valuable product, it doesn't come free, right? People don't value things that are free.
Yep.
Uh, and like I said earlier, I think there are multiple people. I mean, for me, it's this. I can just open memberships. I don't have to have a wait list. I can just put a subscription on my website and I'll get enough people. I know that, right? I can price it at literally nothing and we'll get
Yep.
users, right? But it's not the product we're building. at all. And it's not the product that we're going to build, because I think we need people who are super, super invested. Invested people bring other invested people. Solid people bring other solid people. And if it means that we have to speak to every single person before onboarding them, we have to. If it helps me get literally the best people. I remember when you told me that, I think a friend of mine wants to join. There's a very, very long wait list, and how can she get it? And all of that, right? So I think to be able to build that, it takes a lot, right?
Yep.
And that's something that we don't want to mess with. Are we married to it? Is it going to be like this for 10 years? Absolutely not. I'm just saying that we don't know today, right? But it's today in the shape and form that Leap is. It's not going to be free. I think anyone who is invested in their professional growth and wants to really make it to the next level, she will invest. And we have enough and more women who have proved that, right? Where
So how can a woman sign up?
It's very, very easy. I'm wearing a Leap shirt. You just have to go to www.leap.club. You can join the waitlist. Of course, we have 7,000 women, but if you're interested, you can write to me on r@leap.club, and I will see what I can do to bump you up the list. We have the last few slots left for 2020. Our next set of memberships open in Jan. Primarily always sold out. But yeah, I think that, like I said, there is enough in the market to after.
So I'm gonna play maybe a regular Indian customer for you a little bit, but so you're saying I have to pay 10,000 rupees annually for this, right? It's all upfront, from what I understand.
It's 900 subscription. We figured that was a barrier for a few people, so we actually started subscriptions 2 months ago.
Okay, and you obviously pay the subscription through the App Store.
Through the credit. Yeah, it's Razorpay, so it's constant.
And you don't provide a free trial.
No free trials.
No free trials. But why not?
I think once you're in, you will know why not, and once you're in, you're not going back, right? I think our members speak so highly of us, and I think that has really helped quite a lot with members getting convinced. I think while they come in for the benefits, and most do, they stay for the network. Once you know who these women are, once you start interacting with them, there's no going back. I think it will change your life.
And so no discounts either, right? No discount codes, nothing. So I mean, again, these are sort of loaded questions, but the point was that when you truly believe your product, and if you really want to deliver value, you have to have them pay a price. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You need to get them to pay a price. And once they pay the price, then they're forced to find value, and you're forced to deliver it, right? And I'm really glad that you guys are exactly doing that. I think I have one last question. Ragini, we'll see if there's any more audience questions to take. What is the product roadmap for Leap? If someone joins in today, obviously there's a bunch of benefits you've already listed out, but over the next 12 months, what can a Leap member expect by being a member of the Leap Club?
So we experiment quite a lot at Leap AD. I want to be super honest and upfront about that, right? I think even with our 500 and growing members, we experiment quite a bit. Every month, like I said, we speak to 200, 300 women. Every month, we try to understand what is it that they additionally want. What is it that we can do better today? So it kind of shows us the mirror every day. Our vision is very clear. I think we're building the biggest professional network that basically focuses on making great people meet great people, but it also focuses on learning. It also focuses on an all managed marketplace, right? So where all your professional needs are covered. Like I said earlier, there's perks, there's jobs, there's so many things that you can do, and maybe we'll save that for another podcast. But I think while we've started with some early convictions, we've changed courses a few times, and we will many more times. But the good thing is we do this only for one reason, and it is to make members win, and it is to make you win if you're a potential member. So whatever we do next 12 months, it will be what we do to make you win. If it means adding 10 benefits, it means that.
Sorry, guys, I am back. I think something's gone off with the Geo network. So, my bad. Cool. So, where were we? Uh, yeah. So, your product roadmap. Have you discussed that? If while I was gone.
I did. So I'm not
Okay.
sure if you all got
No,
that.
but I think it must have gone live. What we'll do now, Ragini, is we've got some questions. So, guys, if you guys have any more questions for Ragini, please go ahead and put them in the comment section. Delicia, we will take your questions. But the next thing I'm going to do is the part of the show that I've not talked to you about at all, which is the rapid fire round. Right? We're going to ask you a series of questions.
I am a casual girl. Let her have
You do get hampers, you do get a hamper, but just you'll have to wait for a couple of months. You'll be on the wait list.
nicely done.
But so whatever first comes to mind, you got to answer that right away, and I'm sure we'll find some interesting topic to talk a little bit more about. So first question, are you ready?
I think I am.
Okay, Peter Thiel question: one thing that you know to be true, but very few people agree with you on it.
Follow your gut.
Follow your gut. Oh wow, yeah, that's true. Actually, a lot of people, I don't know why they believe you shouldn't follow it.
They go by
One piece
data.
of
Yeah, I do believe in too. I said they people usually try to go with data, which I believe in too. But for me, I think follow your gut is my mantra always.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're having data to at least negate whatever, at least give you enough information to go on your gut, right? So I think that's an important part. One piece of advice to founders about fundraising.
Be very, very careful while picking your investors. Go after people who believe in you, who believe in your product, and will back you up no matter what. Don't go after who throws the largest check.
That's a very key one. Even if that same guy could be writing a personal check and not from his fund, like I mean,
Yeah.
who's your favorite superhero and why? And
My favorite superhero. So I'm not a major superhero person, but my favorite superhero today is Kamala Harris. And full kudos to the girl who has gone, I think, above and beyond what everyone thought. And I think she is my favorite superhero today.
wonderful, wonderful example. I mean, wow, what a victory. Next, I think scaling before profitability or profitability before scaling. Which one do you choose
Latter, profitability before scaling.
and why?
I like to see money in the bank, to be honest. I think, you have to be 100%. Like, at least I'm a personal believer of someone who wants to build a business that makes money. I don't want to make a loss making business. Like, I would rather have 10,000 happy paying customers who pay X amount versus
A million
100
customers. Yeah,
loss making. No, I'm the former then.
wonderful and unique because especially in these times, right?
Yeah.
If you could pick the brain of one person, right, and you can't say Kamala Harris now. So if you could pick the brain of one person for 24 hours, ask them anything you want, who would it be?
Donald Trump. What's he
Oh my
thinking?
God. I don't think you need 24 hours for that. You just need three
I
tweets.
think that's 2 minutes.
Just read the last three tweets.
No, no. I think, of course, my ideal answer here would be Obama, but I'm going to go with Donald Trump because I really want to know what he's thinking.
We're going to find out very, very soon. Very, very soon. So are you a morning person or a night person?
100% morning person. I wake up at 6 a.m. every single day.
Wow. So we're taking time from your bedtime away. It looks like
Yeah.
one thing one thing you would like to change about the Indian startup ecosystem.
Oh, Bharat, can I say?
Take the Bharat.
No. I think we need to start going after, we need to start backing people who build valuable products versus, again, I've said it so many times because I genuinely do believe in it, but versus people who are just going after the market size. So, yeah, back valuable products and
Back back profits, right?
back
Perfect.
up.
What is one thing I think you've sort of answered it, but let's get it out on the table. According to you, what is one thing investors should bring to the table other than money?
Um, a lot of respect for founders. It's a very different one, but I think respecting and I think trusting the founder to take the right call is something that a lot of investors need to start doing, because I think eventually who's running the business will not be your analyst, it will be the founder. Uh, and I don't think anyone knows the company more than the founder does. So that.
And but respect also is a very wide term. Like, could you be more, a little
Respect
more
the
specific?
founder's decision. Sorry, I'll be
Decision.
more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
respecting
respecting
the
founder.
founder's decision. Completely
Yeah,
agree with that. I think at the end of the day, we can. I mean, we can give all the advice we want, but the right mentor would still leave it on to you to
yeah.
make the decision. The point is to
Like,
show you both sides of the coin.
and that
Yeah.
advice is super important. And I think, like I said, I think our angels are super committed, and they're very understanding, and they always tell us that, okay, these are our 2 cents, but your call, right? And I think which is why I say we lucked out, right? Because I think that is key for just being happy.
So, what's your typical morning routine? Since you're a morning person.
Yeah, so I wake up decently early. If like on a day the AQI is okay in Delhi, I try to do yoga. I try to get my now morning black tea because I've completely gone off coffee. I water the
Wow.
plants. I listen to music. My first 2 hours are my me time because I get no other me time in the day. So I try being the keyword here. I try to reduce as much screen time as possible before, of course, the madness begins for me at 8 a.m.
8 a.m. And if you were to be convicted for a crime, what would it be?
OCD.
OCD. On what? Are you
Just
OCD like Monica? Because I know you said OCD like Monica in one of our conversations earlier.
yeah, like cleanliness and hygiene. That going
Good. We
after
would. We're going after perfection.
yeah.
What's one thing you must do before you go to sleep? Like you cannot get sleep unless you check your
Check my.
email. 3 books you would recommend to founders, and I know you read a lot. So
So I think 100%. Please get it. I'm literally the spokesperson for this book right now. I really like the hard things about hard things, and I think Principles by Ray Dalio is
great.
one of my favorites as well. I think I keep going back to it every time I want to and have to go back to it, and which is pretty often. Apart from that, I think there are lots of great podcasts also. But I think something that I wish I started doing earlier is start reading and listening to these podcasts a lot more often. So if you ask
So,
me
and
what
that's my last question, which is, what's one blog or podcast you are following right now, or the last one you did?
the Tony Robbins podcast, and
Oh
like if you're
wow,
asking me the Indian this thing, then I think 100x Entrepreneur is pretty decent. How I Built This by Guy Raz is pretty decent as well. But
Tony.
yeah.
I'm a big follower of Tony Robbins. 15 years now, and in fact, this morning I was listening to the one with. Excuse me.
I said, how old are you?
Young enough. but I was listening this morning, and a great one, the episode on Sarah Blakely and how
Yeah.
she built Spanx, and I mean I forwarded to a lot of people. So again, great podcast to follow, Tony Robbins. So if I could ask my team to put all those books and podcasts in the comment section, we're gonna take a quick couple of questions, Ragini. I know we're already over time, but let's just take Didisia's question here. Being an entrepreneur for an innovative startup can be a tough road. In difficult moments, how do you stay focused on moving forward and making progress?
Take breaks. Take enough breaks. I think we just we nahi, I mean, everyone just glamorizes this entire entrepreneurial lifestyle so much, and it's not that at all. She's like, of course, you're absolutely right. It's a very tough road. There will be 100 difficult moments every day, if not every week, right? And I think the only way to really stay focused and keep moving forward is to take those breaks, look at it from a macro view, and not be 100% at it. Because when you're doing that, you get so invested in the problem, or you get so invested in it, that it's very, very difficult to zoom out. So I think that zoom out and taking those breaks is something that I recommend quite a lot. I don't do it enough. I'm guilty of being that person who doesn't take enough breaks. But I'm trying to change that for sure.
That's very important. It's what you're talking about is sometimes you have to go to work on the business versus in the business. And for
Yeah,
that to happen, you have to, and I say it have to, at least once a month. If once a month, take a weekend off and start thinking about the longer term vision of the business and not just what you're doing on a daily basis. Because sometimes, fighting in the trenches and using an army example here,
yeah,
sometimes you're just fighting in the trenches, not realizing the war is being fought somewhere else, right? And
absolutely.
and that's the key. So I think with that, I know I've kept everybody up, and you have an early morning too. So with that, I think we'll bring this interview to an end. But before we go, Ragini, any final thoughts for the people listening in?
I mean, it comes in perfect timing, but I'm going to repeat what I said last, AD. I think take enough sanity breaks, recharge, recoup, work 100% hard, but take enough breaks, because the burnout is real. Yeah,
And this year more than ever, right? Because there's no work life balance right now.
toughest. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
So with that, thank you so much, Ragini. Really enjoyed episode 22. I mean, could not have been a more fitting episode, and look forward to having you back in a future episode. Maybe talking about 200,000 members and being one of the fastest subscriber
Inshallah.
organization.
All
Absolutely. All right, guys. Bye,
right.
everybody.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Take care.